When you're in the thick of a divorce, all the decisions can be overwhelming, especially when it comes to the children. Jaclyn Robertson, family law attorney with JR Law Group, is here to share the 4 factors of child support. Again, overwhelming because that's the big thing when it comes to divorce, the children.
It's a big one. And the finances. So child support, thankfully, is much more simple than alimony. It's actually calculated by a state-issued worksheet. So there's actually a calculator that will pump out the amount that's owed by either parent. And so you're going to decide whether or not you're using the sole custody worksheet, which is if it's a custodial and non-custodial parent, or if there's a joint custody worksheet. So
there's a formula, and so people don't have to think, oh gosh, I got to figure it out on my own.
Exactly. It's really nice and straightforward. There's very clear criteria. You're going to look at each parent's gross monthly income, number of children, and then if you get into the joint custody worksheet, it's going to be number of overnights. You literally put that information into the calculator online, and it will provide the information to tell you what the obligation is for the respective parent.
So how long, and that might be the question, it depends on the age of the child, but how long might this child support last?
So child support is going to last until the child or the children are 18 or graduate from high school, or whichever occurs later. And then once, say you have 3 children, 1 graduates high school, you can just adjust the calculator with the same information but reducing it by 1 child, and then that will give you the new number. So as long as there's a child under 18 or in high school, there's going to be child support.
And then there are things that definitely is covered, and then some that are not covered, and maybe parents might not even think about those things.
We get a lot of questions about, well, I need help with the extracurriculars, or I need help with the school fees.
So is that counted?
Not necessarily. Now, if a parent's paying child support, they will also legally, there's actually, state law that says they will also be required to pay half of health insurance premiums and any out-of-pocket healthcare costs, as well as any reasonable work-related child care. So reasonable, I mean, if you have a family member that's watching the children, you can't turn to the other parent and say you need to pay what you should be paying if they were in daycare. It's actual out-of-pocket costs for childcare and healthcare. School fees, extracurriculars, that's not something that the law says you have to pay for. Now, a lot of times parties will have that outlined and discussed in the decree, meaning they'll agree to split it, or they each agree in writing and they'll split that, or the school fees can be ordered by the court, but it's not as clear cut as health insurance, child support, and work-related expenses.
And so besides health care, health insurance, what else is definitely in there?
So those are the only, you've got child support, and that's kind of the idea that one parent has more overnights, food, clothing. So the parent paying child support does not have to pay for other of those expenses like the food and the clothing. That's kind of the idea of child support. And on top of the child support, they will pay those 2 things, health insurance and work-related daycare provision.
And the message I'm hearing is that obviously each divorce is different, and so there is a calculator, but there are outside things that can also be discussed.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the beauty of when you're negotiating and figuring out a settlement with your co-parent. Whatever you put into your decree is going to be what both parents are responsible to do. So that's why it's great to think about all of this information when you're in the process of going through divorce. So if there's something you feel really important, like, oh, we're about to have a 16-year-old, we're going to agree that we're going to share auto insurance. Well, if that's in the decree, then both parents will have to share that. But if they don't agree, that there's no Utah law that will come along and require either parent to pay that.
So interesting. Thank you, Jaclyn Robertson.
Absolutely.
With JR Law Group, the phone number there on your screen. They're also on Instagram, their website right there. We're going to have a link on our website at abc4.com/GTU. Dina Marie.